Welcome everyone to the El Toro La Liga show today. Obviously, La Liga is back finally after the international break, so it's the first time in 2 weeks doing this show at last. Obviously, lots to talk about in regards to La Liga, Spanish football. Obviously, hope you guys are enjoying the content on the channel and obviously continuing the El Toro show. Previewing the games of the weekend, this upcoming weekend, including the game tonight, and obviously the Segunda as well. Not a great week as a Deportivo fan, but nevertheless, we might as well get started. As I said, please do hit the like button on stream, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and obviously let me know in the live chat your predictions of any of the games. All right, so first up, the first game we have is Real Oviedo against Espanyol. Now, obviously, some news over the international break is that Panovic is gone. He is no longer the Real Oviedo manager, so I believe he's the first manager that got sacked over since the start of the season. Though I think it's the correct decision, I am not sure because I think Oviedo had like a very difficult fixture list at the start. I think maybe you would have given Panovic at least the next international break and assess, because I think Oviedo have a lot more quote unquote easier fixtures. But nevertheless, the replacement is Carrios, who was actually, if anyone knows the Segunda history, was the manager of Espanyol, because this was the playoff final about 15, 16 months ago. It was Oviedo Espanyol, and Espanyol manager at that time was Carlos, and Espanyol got promoted, Oviedo didn't, and then eventually Panovic came in, got them promoted by the end of the season. So yeah, a change in fortune for Oviedo, and the first game for the new manager is against his former team. But yeah, the win probability 32% Oviedo win, 31% draw, 37% Espanyol win. 8 games into the season already. Espanyol's great start to the season has kind of derailed. No wins in the last 4. Meanwhile, Oviedo only won 1 game in the last 5, but only won 2 games in 8. Losing the remaining games and being probably the lowest goal scorers in the league with only 4 goals scored. So in terms of goal scoring, it's not been great for them. So some match stats. This game is also tonight, by the way. Oviedo have won only 1 of the last 9 La Liga matches against Espanyol. Obviously, long time ago, the last time being 2000. Espanyol have picked up points in 4 of the last 6 away games against Oviedo, but have not won in any of the last 5, going back to 95. Real Oviedo have lost all 3 of their Friday La Liga games without scoring a goal. The only day they haven't scored a goal in the history of La Liga. Albeit, as I said, they only got promoted after 24 years. Oviedo have lost 3 of the last 4 home games in La Liga this season, with that one win being against Sociedad. And all 3 defeats were by a margin of 2 goals, the highest tally of defeats after the first 4 league games, albeit those were against Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like, it was kind of obvious they would lose, even though I predicted them to beat Barcelona, but they were winning in the first half. And finally, Espanyol have not won any of the last 4 La Liga games, as I said, and they haven't gone 5 in a row in a long time. So my predictions for this game, obviously, could this be a new manager bounce with Espanyol not being in great form, haven't won a game since, but the fact that Oviedo haven't scored on a Friday night, I'm not sure if they're going to, I mean, I don't really care if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Unfortunately, I think it'll be not a good start for Oviedo. I'm going with a 2-0 win for Espanyol. That'll be my prediction, a 2-0 win for Espanyol from Barcelona. And next up, here we have is Sevilla against Mallorca. Now, obviously, Sevilla, a couple of weeks ago, defeated Barcelona 4-1, the biggest win in 10 years they had against Barcelona, and that was probably the shock of the weekend. Meanwhile, Mallorca, they're trying to get back into form this season. I believe they won the previous game as well. But win probability, 51% Sevilla win, 28 for draw, 21 Mallorca. And if you look here, Sevilla at one point were in the top four. So it seems like both Seville clubs, them alongside their rivals Betis, are in the European places at the moment. Sevilla probably now becoming a little bit of a surprise team. Maybe they can push for Europe. Only lost one game in the last 5, so pretty good despite the bad start. Meanwhile, Mallorca, bad start. They did win a couple games ago. However, they're at the bottom of the league alongside Sociedad. So, look, it's not been a great season for Mallorca, and I think it might continue here, I'll be honest, considering the form that Sevilla are in. So some reason we don't have much insights or stats about it. But obviously, I think the form that Sevilla have shown over the past few games have been really good. And I just think that Sevilla, with that win against Barcelona, they do have a very strong chance of winning at home. Meanwhile, Mallorca, I just think that this is going to be a little bit of a struggling season for them. I don't know yet if I'll say they'll get relegated, but so far it's not been great from them. And I won't go with a big scoreline, but I'll go 2-1 Sevilla. That'll be my prediction. 2-1 for Sevilla. And for some reason, we're not getting much insights or stats, so I'll try to do my best to talk of these games. But next up, we do have is Barcelona against Girona. This is the Catalan derby. Now, obviously, last season, I think Barcelona did the double over Girona. They have a pretty good record against the Catalonian rivals. You can say they're not really rivals, I'll be honest, even though they're from the same area. But as you can see, 81% Barcelona win, 12% draw, 7% Girona win. Barcelona at the moment, as I said, lost their first game of the season, meaning that now all teams in La Liga have lost a game this season. Barcelona losing embarrassingly against Sevilla, which we just talked about. I'll be honest, that was probably the big shock. You know, they haven't beaten Sevilla in a long time. Well, they have beaten Sevilla a lot over the past 10 years, and then Sevilla finally won. And there's a lot of injury concerns at Barcelona. There's a lot of players out injured, a few players out of form. This is kind of why I know early on, you know, when Real Madrid lost to Atleti, it was against Atleti, whereas Barcelona losing to Sevilla was a bit of a shock. And now with some injuries piling up, and what happened in the Champions League against PSG, you know, not great performance. So they've lost back-to-back games in all competitions, you could say. It's just not been a great end just before the international break. And I don't necessarily know if they will be able to, I wouldn't say bounce back, but be able to get back into the groove, because I think there's a lot of injury concern at Barcelona. And this is kind of why I'm not really high on Barca this season, whereas some people may be. Meanwhile, Girona finally won their first game of the season, believe it or not, in the previous game. You can technically say they've only lost one game in the last 5, but they only just got their first win of the season. It's just not been a great campaign. They still look like relegation favorites, despite the injury crisis that Barcelona are in. I just think that they're just still too strong for Girona. And I think there'll be a bit of a bounce back, but not enough to kind of say, oh, Barcelona are back, that sort of thing. But I will go with a big 3-0 win. I think maybe some sort of response. I mean, if they lose to Girona, then that's panic stations, I'll be honest. I'm going 3-0 Barcelona. I don't know why all of a sudden Google's not giving me the match insights into this game. Don't know. That's a shame. That is a shame. But next up, we do have is Villarreal against Betis. Look, both teams doing quite well. They're both in the European places at the moment. Good run of form for both. 51% Villarreal win, 25% draw, 24% for Betis to win. As I said, they're both actually not just in the European places, they're both in the top four. Villarreal in third, Betis in fourth. So a win for either, it would be a good response from them to kind of continue on their form this season. Um, Look, I'll be honest. I've been impressed with both of them this season. Um, Even though I kind of expected both of them to drop off, but so far it's been so good for them, for both teams. In terms of a prediction heading into this game, I know Villarreal have a pretty decent record against Betis, especially at the Estadio de Ceramica. So I might have to back Villarreal win, and I think if they win, that gives them a lot of momentum. Even though they lost the previous game in La Liga, I think that will build momentum for them for the remainder of the season. And obviously, when the Champions League comes back, I believe they play Manchester City at home, and that will be a big game. And so I think they need to build on momentum, and beating Betis would be a big result. So I'm actually going with a very high win. I'm going 2-0. I think they can have the quality to beat this Betis team, even though both are doing quite well. But I'll go 2-0 Villarreal as my prediction. And then on Saturday night football, we have is Atletico Madrid against Osasuna. Both sides have kind of improved over the past few games, I would say. Um, Now, at the win probability, you have 70% Atletico Madrid win, 19% for a draw, and only 11% for Osasuna win. Now, obviously, Atleti have bounced back. Have bounced back. They are. Oh my God, my words. They are on a 7-game unbeaten one in La Liga after losing the opening game of the season. Obviously, scoring 5 goals in the 2 games before, somehow drawing against Celta Vigo. Jesus Christ! You managed to beat Real Madrid and Eintracht Frankfurt by 5 goals, scoring 5 goals against them, and you couldn't even fucking beat Celta. Like, what the fuck, man? So annoying. It's so annoying. I don't know why. But look, Atleti, they're in fifth. Though I do think that had they beaten Celta, they would have been, fourth, I believe. So, yeah, not great. But they do have a very good record against Osasuna in La Liga, especially at home. Meanwhile, Osasuna have been, as I kind of expected, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, with a draw in the middle there in the past 5. Um, I'll be honest, Osasuna, as I said, bit of a boring team overall. Nothing too exciting about them, I'll be honest. But there's a lot of question marks as to whether, they haven't really been scoring a lot of goals. They've only scored 7 goals in La Liga, even though last season they were pretty decent up front. It's just that they just weren't defending well, and that's why they ultimately didn't get Europe by the end of the last campaign. So I'll be honest, I've just not been super impressed with them. But with Atleti, look, unbeaten in the last 7. Oh God. I mean, they should win this game against Osasuna. I just think that overall, it'll be a tough ask for Osasuna. But I'll go with a narrow 2-1 win for Atleti. That'll be my prediction, and they will continue to climb up the table and go 8 games unbeaten, basically. Oh, now we have match stats for the Sunday games, but not for Saturday. Okay. But anyways, next up we have is Elche against Athletic Club. Now, obviously, Elche were unbeaten before the last game week. At 26% Elche win, 29 for a draw, 45% Athletic Club to win. As I said, Elche were unbeaten until the previous game. They have a pretty good record in La Liga so far this season, despite losing the first game of the season in the game last couple weeks ago, actually. Meanwhile, Athletic Club finally won the first game in a long time, just before the international break. If you remember, after game week 3, Athletic Club were in. They were basically joint top with Real Madrid, and since then they've really dropped off. Nico Williams, I'm not quite sure if he's fit yet to start this game for Athletic. Um, and I'll be honest, I think this game's quite even for both sides. Elche, as I said, newly promoted and only just lost the first game of the season. And a win for either would really, really put themselves back into that sort of charge to get into the Champions League places. Athletic Club, as we know, have not had a great Champions League campaign, though they are playing Karabag at home, I believe on Wednesday night, either Tuesday or Wednesday, before playing Newcastle United, which I won't do a watch along for because I want to be out and watch the game somewhere. But I am definitely excited to play Athletic Club when we do get them in about 3 weeks from now, more or less. But yeah, it's very tough to really call how this game will go because I think Athletic Club's form still, despite that win a couple weeks ago, has not been great. And they do need some momentum heading into Karabag, considering Karabag in the Champions League are like 6 points ahead of them. So if they lose to Karabag, then it's really, really looking precarious for Athletic Club. And I did say Athletic Club in the Champions League won't do as well, might even get eliminated before the league phase, after the league phase is done. I think that's just how I feel with them. But I think they'll try to bounce back, and I'll go with a draw. I'll go 1-1 in this game between Elche and Athletic Club. Oh, and I forgot match stats, but hopefully you can do more of that later. But basically, I think both teams maybe might settle for a draw. So I'm going 1-1 in that one. As I said, this timeline match insights finally. So I'll get into it as soon as I possibly can with these games. So yeah, as I said, please do hit the like and subscribe. Next up, we do have is Celta Vigo against Real Sociedad. The battle of the mid, I'll be honest. 45% Celta win, 28 for a draw, 27% for Sociedad win. Now, obviously, I did do a watch along last season to this game, the reverse fixture at Anoeta, and it was unfortunately Celta that won that game by a goal to nil. But if you look at where both teams are on the table, I have to scroll all the way down. Celta Vigo, considering that every team has already lost the game so far this season in La Liga, Celta Vigo are now the only team in La Liga without a win this season. And 6 draws. 6 draws being 1-all draws and 2 losses alongside that. Look, from a perspective of a Deportivo fan, I'm happy to see this at the moment, considering how bad they've been. Celta Vigo finally got their first win, and that was in the Europa League. That's the first win against PAOK at home, which I was hoping they lose or don't win, but they got the win. But I'll be honest, if they don't beat Sociedad, that's going to be not that good. Because then it might actually spell that they might actually be in a relegation battle. It's still pretty early in the season, but for Celta, it's not great where they are. So some match stats heading into this game, the battle of the mid. Celta Vigo have won the last 2 La Liga matches without conceding a goal, so they did the double over them last season. Since the 06-07 season, Sociedad have scored in 11 of the 14 away games against Celta. So pretty good record they have scoring-wise in their stadium. Celta Vigo are the only team without a win. It is the second time in their history that they failed to win the first 8. For the first time since 56-57, in which they finished 13th and unfortunately avoided relegation. Sociedad have lost 5 of the last 6 La Liga games with 1 win. That was against Mallorca, who are bottom of the league alongside them. So it's not been a great campaign for either team. Celta Vigo are the team with the most draws in the top 5 leagues in Europe with 6, marking the 7th time in history that a team has drawn 6 or more games in the first 8 since Valencia a few years ago. And I'll be honest, I would love to see it. I hope Sociedad win. Could it be a draw? God. I don't know. I'll go with a Sociedad win 1-0. 1-0 Real Sociedad. That'll be my prediction. 1-0 Sociedad. Let's go. God. It'll probably be not. It'll probably be their win, but I'll go Sociedad win. Why not? Next up, we do have is Levante against Rayo Vallecano in La Liga. Now, obviously, both teams also kind of near the relegation zone at the moment. 34% Levante win, 28 for a draw, 38 Vallecano win. Basically, now, as I said, also have to scroll down to see these two teams. Both on 8 points, both won the previous game a couple weeks ago after having a pretty bad run of form. Both teams actually. Though I think it's kind of expected that Rayo Vallecano would not do as well as they did last season. Levante newly promoted. Though I would say Levante are quite fun to watch. Very high scoring team at the moment, and if they can get at this Vallecano defense, I think they could definitely cause a lot of trouble to Vallecano. So some match stats. Levante have not lost any of the last 3 La Liga matches against Rayo. After losing 3 of the last 4 home games against Rayo in La Liga, Levante have not lost any of the last 3 against them at home in La Liga. Vallecano, why did I say Mallorca? Vallecano have scored points in 5 of the last 7 visits against teams from Valencia in La Liga, winning 2 of them after failing to win in the previous 12. So pretty good record they have against Valencian clubs, that being, if you guys want to know, Valencia, Villarreal, Levante, who they play, and Elche. Levante have won 2 of the last 4 La Liga games, but both victories have come away from home, having not won at home in the top flight since 2022, obviously, when they were last in La Liga. Rayo Vallecano have won their last La Liga game, 1-0 against Sociedad. A big win, actually, having failed to win in any of the previous 6. So look, I feel like despite that win against Sociedad a couple weeks ago, I do think that Levante's high scoring form might actually continue. I'll go with a crazy game, you could say. I'll go 3-2 for Levante. I'll go 3-2 in this one between the two sides. 3-2 Levante. A couple more games to go in La Liga this coming weekend. And next up, we have a Madrid derby, technically. The same as Barcelona having a game against Girona, but not against the big rivals from Barcelona. That'll be in December or January. But yeah, basically, next up we have is a Getafe against Real Madrid. Now, obviously, Getafe not in a great spot at the moment, but Real Madrid got back to winning ways over the weekend after an embarrassing loss to Atleti. 12% Getafe win, 21% draw, 67% Real Madrid win. As you can see, Real Madrid are now back at the top of La Liga after the win against Villarreal a couple weeks ago, on my birthday, actually. And now they've matched Barcelona, conceding 9, So, look, so far it's been a really decently good campaign for Real Madrid, 6 points in the Champions League. At the moment, top of La Liga. This is the game before El Clasico as well in La Liga. So, they really want to get back up into the standings and really push themselves. Like if Real Madrid win the next 2 games, including this one, that would mean that they, who knows, might have a really good points advantage over Barcelona. It seems like it'll just be a tight race of those two again. Getafe down in 11th and haven't won in the previous 4. Not great for them, despite the good start they had. Getafe have lost their last 7 La Liga games against Real Madrid, failing to score in 6 of them. Not great. They have suffered 30 defeats against Real Madrid, the highest tally against a single opponent in the top flight. Getafe have only won one of the last 23 Madrid derbies, that being a 2-1 win against Atleti. If you remember, I think it was Arambari with the goal, with the winning goal, actually. Meanwhile, Real Madrid have lost the previous Madrid derby, the 5-2 against Atleti 3 weeks ago, and have not lost two in a row since 1999. Both were against Atleti, actually. After winning 3 of the first 4 games in La Liga and losing just one, Getafe have not won any of the last 4. Although they have not lost any of the last 3 home games in the top flight this season, a win and 2 draws. Real Madrid have won 10 of the last 11 La Liga matches and have scored in at least 2 goals in 7 consecutive games. And look, the form that Kylian Mbappe is on, you would probably expect Real Madrid to win, but to be honest, I do want it to be a nicely set up game between Barcelona, Real Madrid in the derby. I do want them on the same number of points, and the kind of way to do that would be to draw this game. But unfortunately, I think Real Madrid will get the job done. I will go with a 2-0 win for Real Madrid. I just think they'll be a bit too strong for Getafe. And then the final game of the La Liga weekend for game week 9 we have is Alavés against Valencia. So both of these sides kind of mid-ish in terms of the league form now. 42% Alavés win, 31% draw, 27% Valencia to win. Now, Alavés in 10th finally got the win back in the previous game. They just been more of that inconsistent Alavés. As I said, I did kind of hype them up at the start of the season. The hype has kind of died down, I'll be honest. But I do think Alavés, by the end of it, will survive. I think they're good enough to survive this time around, unlike maybe a season or 2 ago where they were, in danger. I think they'll be okay. Meanwhile, Valencia, 3 points behind Alavés, their opponents. But I think Valencia overall, they lost to Oviedo. I forgot who they lost a couple of weeks ago already. I have a bad memory. But it's just not been a great season. I did expect more from Valencia considering how good they were by the end of last season, like the second half of last season, where they could have potentially have made Europe from a very bad spot in La Liga. And I think they have to bounce back, Valencia, this next few games in order to kind of push themselves towards the top end of the table if they want by second half of the season. Who knows? But yeah, the games on Monday night, unless something happens, Alavés have won 4 of the last 5 La Liga games against Valencia after failing to win any of the previous 6 against them. At home, Alavés have not lost any of the last 6 La Liga matches against Valencia, 4 wins, 2 draws, winning the last 3 and keeping a clean sheet in the last 2. Valencia have not won any of the last 14 visits against Basque clubs. Obviously, Alavés is from Vitoria-Gasteiz, losing the last 4 while scoring a single goal. Not great. Alavés have... Sorry, my throat hurts. Alavés have only lost 1 of the last 8 home games in La Liga, that being a 2-1 loss against Sevilla last month, basically, but have not gone 2 in a row without winning in the stadium since a couple of seasons ago. Or actually, last season, actually. Valencia have lost the last 2 La Liga games, both against bottom half teams, that being Oviedo and Girona, making them the team that has suffered the most defeats against bottom half teams this season, 3. So, as I said, it's not been great, and I think they have to catch up on their form in Valencia. It's tough. I might have to settle with a stalemate I might go 1-1 in this one. I just think that both sides will kind of be a little bit standoffish. I think not really go for the jugular and get the win in this one. So I'll go with a 1-1 draw in that game. All right. Let me bring this back. Okay. So now it is time for the El Toro de la Semana, the Ball of the Week, the best player of the weekend. And I'll be honest, I think there is probably one contender, and it has to be from Sevilla. I'll be honest, I think someone like Alexis Sanchez was really good against Barcelona, scoring a penalty and all that. So I might actually go with Alexis Sanchez, scoring against his former club, Barcelona. So my El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the weekend, I am giving it to Alexis Sanchez for his really good performance against his former club, Barcelona, a couple weeks ago. So yeah, congrats to him. And now it is time for the Segunda. Hopefully it got shared right here. Let me just get this sorted. All right, so obviously 2 games happened over the past couple weeks. The last time I did this show. Now, a review of it. So a couple weeks ago on my birthday, Andorra beat Legan. Leganes beat Andorra, which was a bit of a surprise, you could say, considering the good form Andorra have been before that. Huesca beat Burgos. Granada finally got their first win in the Segunda, beating the B team of Real Sociedad. Cordoba beating Zaragoza, and I believe it's either that game or the game after Gabi, former Atletico Madrid player, now manager, has been sacked from Zaragoza because Zaragoza, I believe at the moment, are bottom of the Segunda. They are in a bad spot. Castellón beat Gijón. Valladolid drew 1-1 with Mirandes. Racing Santander, 3-0, big win. 3-0 against Malaga. Las Palmas beat Cadiz. And Leonesa beat Albacete. Where's Deportivo? Fuck, who did we play? So bad. Why isn't our game shown? Let me bring this up. That's why. I was like, I didn't discuss about Deportivo. But there we go. Ceuta 1-0 win on a Friday night, and Deportivo 1-0 against Almeria on my birthday. Not a great performance from us. Obviously, I do my show with Charlie, La Piña Rosa. Just not a great performance, and obviously, I don't really want to talk about the game after this one, but I will have to, basically. But heading into match day 9, the 9th game week of the Segunda, look, not great performances from some teams heading into the game week, or this upcoming game week. You have Granada, Las Palmas 0-0, Mirandes, Leganes 0-0, uneventful, until you got Almeria beating Zaragoza. I think this was the game Gabi got sacked by the end of it. Not a good result for Zaragoza, as I said, but Almeria have starting to pick up form now. Sociedad B team beat Andorra 3-0, so Andorra back-to-back losses, despite being in a pretty relatively good spot. You'll see how the table looks soon. Albacete 0-0 against Ceuta. Same thing with Eibar Castellón. There were plenty of 0-0 draws, pretty dull games. Sporting Gijón, Racing Santander, what a surprise. Santander and also Gijón, Asturias against Cantabria. And in the end, it's the first win for Gijón for the first time since game week 3, I believe, and beating, who I call the bottlers of the Segunda, Santander. No hate on Santander, but they're our next game. We play them next, So I hope we win. It's the big game. I might do a watch along. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure. You also have Cadiz 1, Huesca 0, Burgos 0, Valladolid 1. Yeah, not great. Malaga 3, Deportivo 0. Our first actual loss, our first loss of the season. I would say it probably has been coming. you know, some games like we should have lost against Laganas. Probably should have lost to Ibor. I'll be honest, but we got draws in those games. I think this one just probably our worst performance of the season. Considering before this game, Malaga were on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak and they beat us. So it kind of shows you that it's unpredictable, the Segunda. Um, and I'll be honest, really not a good performance. The only positive I can get is that because Spain got eliminated from the U20 World Cup, thank God, because I wanted him back. David Maya, since he's not been with Deportivo, David Maya, obviously with the Spain team during the U20 World Cup, um, the 3 games that David Maya has not started for us since he's gone to Chile for that U20 World Cup, Deportivo have picked up 2 points in the last 9, 2 draws, and this loss against Malaga. So I'll say now that he's had 1 week to travel from Chile to back home to A Coruña in Spain. Hopefully he starts the next game against Santander. I think he's a big difference maker for us. And hopefully it oh my God, we have a different outlet. We have someone that can deliver something for us. So look, hopefully we can do that because that Malaga game, literally nothing happened for us. Like sucker punched 3 times basically. Just I'll say the worst performance from us this season. Obviously I'll talk about it in my show with Charlie on this coming Monday. When we do La Piña Rosa. And obviously the game on this previous Monday, Cordoba 1, Leonesa 0. So the games for the upcoming game week, we have Andorra playing against Granada. Going to be a tough one for that, considering Andorra now 2 losses in a row. Ceuta, Mirandas. You have Zaragoza against Leonesa. So this one's about I think both teams are at the bottom of the table, the bottom 2 at the moment. Sociedad B against Huesca. You have Leganes against Malaga. That'll be a good game to look forward to. Castellón, Albacete. Valladolid, Gijón. Looks like it could be interesting. You obviously have Andalusian derby, Cordoba against Almeria. And then I'll say at that same time, you have Cantabria against Galicia. This is the big game, I would say, of the weekend. Racing Santander against Deportivo La Coruña. Both teams, we both lost. Even though I predicted both of those teams, us and them, Santander, to win in the previous match day, but didn't, basically. And this is probably going to be a very, very, very important game now, considering that both of us are not even in neither of us are first place at the moment. Had we beaten Malaga, we would have been first place. So it's a lot to look forward to. I'm not 100% sure. I might do a live watch along if I can find a game, and I have, available time for myself. If not, then I'll just have it just like checking for myself. Big game. I think I predicted a 3-3 draw, something like that. But obviously, that was with me thinking that we would beat Malaga. This is a must win. We have to win this game. I'll be honest. So we'll see. Hopefully, I can do a watch along. We'll find out. We also have Las Palmas Eibar, and on Monday night we have Cadiz, who are, I believe, top of the table, against Burgos. So those are the games for the upcoming weekend. In terms of the table, you have Cadiz are currently top of the Segunda. After winning the previous game this past weekend, on 18 points, as I said, it's actually it could have been a battle of first versus second, but it's second versus third, not third, third. So yeah, Depor and Santander, both of us on 16 points. Winner gets stays in the top 2 or becomes the top 2 after 10 games, and this is the big game. But we only won 4 games, while Santander and Cadiz have won 5. So we have to sometimes turn those results into wins. So hopefully we can get the job done. Valladolid, Las Palmas, and Almeria finished the top 6, which is minimum playoffs. And a point behind on 14, Andorra. You have Huesca on 13, Burgos, Eibar, Castellon, all on 12 points, and then top of the bottom half in 12 with 12, Sporting Gijon with that win over Santander. You also have Cordoba and Ceuta also on 12. So you have 6 teams on 12 points. So that's 9th to 14th. So it's a big change you can get. You also have Leganés, Malaga both on 11. Probably trying to pick up form now, I would say. Albacete, now that I realize, unbeaten in the past few games, despite having a bad start to the season, actually. So they've been in decent, okayish form. You also have Sociedad B on 9 points. And then the bottom 4, Mirandes, Granada, Leonesa, Zaragoza. Mirandes and Granada on 9. And then these two, Leonesa, Zaragoza, play each other. I think it has to be a win for Zaragoza. I think if they don't beat Leonesa after 10 games, that's 1 win in 10 with the new manager. And Leonesa are no slouches. They've beaten Santander 4-2, scoring 4 goals, 4-0 up at one point. Ooh. I'll be honest, if Leonesa beat Zaragoza and maybe Granada, Mirandes, and all of them pick up points, I do think that I just don't really see a way Zaragoza survive this season. I think it's a big game. It will show Zaragoza whether they are strong enough to survive, because I don't think they'll finish above 4 other teams by the end of the season. This could be a really bad season for them, if it hasn't been already. So yeah, we'll see how Zaragoza goes, because they're in a big deep shit basically. But big up to the comments. We have Charlie here. Big up. Yep. Obviously, Charlie, you kind of got my little thoughts on Deportivo's performance against Malaga. Obviously, me and Charlie, we do our show La Piña Rosa for both Deportivo La Coruña and Palermo. Obviously, we will do it on Monday night, and obviously we do our Year of the Bird, Newcastle and Spurs. And he says, Forza Catania. Yeah, Forza Catania, everyone. Big up to Charlie, and big up to Catania. Biggest team in Sicily after Palermo. But yeah, that basically rounds up the show. Yeah, it's been a good show. I would say the return of La Liga, the return of club football is back on tonight with the new manager of Oviedo playing against the team that he helped beat Oviedo to get into La Liga 15-16 months ago in the playoff. So yeah, let me actually adjust it to here so you get the bigger screen. What do you mean? Catania are obviously much better. But yeah, big up to everyone that has joined the show, and obviously I will be back on Monday, but I might do a live watch long for what do you call this? Racing Santander versus Deportivo La Coruña. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll be free or not, but regardless, I will see you guys in the next one. And as Charlie says,